My journey to 1 million subscribers. This video is going to be unlike any other that I've uploaded to my channel before. It's essentially going to be a podcast. I want to walk you through the journey that I've been on from 1 all the way up to 1 million subscribers. And let me say, when I started, I did not expect or have any ambition to get this far on YouTube. It wasn't even about that. But before we get too deep into the story, as I said, it's going to be like a podcast, so there'll be some visuals accompanying on the screen that you can look at if you want to. I'll show you clips from videos when I reference them, things like that, but essentially you could just sit back and listen as well. And I really do hope you enjoy this, because I'm going to tell you the story. When people come to my channel, I always feel like I want to give them more about the journey that I've been on to get to the point where they're arriving at. So this is going to try and essentially monologue the history and all the different things that happened along the way. Now, before we get into the actual history of the channel, I do just want to extend a very sincere thank you to each and every one of you. You see, even if you're just a casual viewer, by participating in this channel, you help make it what it is. And remember, it's a very genuine and unique experience here on YouTube, because there are no middlemen, there's not a team of people behind me, there's no bureaucracy. It's very much from me to you, and so by you all tuning in and participating in the channel, you are helping me create the content that I do here, and I love to create content. It's absolutely wonderful. Now, the support that I've been given through this success over the years has been absolutely tremendous for my personal growth. For example, I used to despise hearing my own voice. You might not believe that, but when I recorded my very first video, it was kind of a little bit daunting, and then it turned out things were okay. People were fine with my voice. It wasn't a big deal. And then over time, I've actually learned to really express myself through my voice as well, which is just something I couldn't wrap my head around back then. But there you go. It's been a very positive experience, and now I feel like I can just express myself by talking to all of you. Now, YouTube has taught me some important lessons that I've applied to other areas of life as well. For example, the importance of discipline and hard work. As some of you know from listening to my live streams, I'm into running, healthy eating, yoga, weightlifting and cycling, and all of that has developed alongside my channel. I feel like the positivity that comes from YouTube helps me find these other things, and it's been one big experience for me. The two are kind of wrapped together in a strange way. So as we go through the history of my channel, you may hear me refer to some of these things that I do externally on occasion. And I kind of want to end this little introduction here on a sentimental note that I'd like to reinforce. You probably heard me say it countless times in my live stream. It's all about the journey, not the destination. This isn't about, oh, fantastic, 1 million subscribers. It's about everything it took to get there. It's always the journey. That's the thing that you should be invested in life. It shouldn't be about the end goal. It's about how do you get there, because that is the magic, of course, is going from A to B. So now we will get into the chronological journey of that journey from 1 to 1 million subscribers. So let's get started then. I first joined YouTube on May 31st, 2008. I signed up so I could have a subscription feed and check out videos on the website. And back then it was very different. The whole place wasn't very productized, and channels tended to be a little bit sporadic, and random videos were all over the place, but there was lots of cool stuff on there, and I was checking it out on a regular basis. Then a little later, I actually uploaded my first video on May 18th, 2010, and this was a music video. And fun fact for you, the first 25 subscribers on my channel were basically friends and people I knew IRL. But anyway, I was at a point in my life where I needed direction, and I really needed to put myself into something after a failed business venture. I was pretty much like at a low point in my life and needed some sort of direction to go upwards. And I knew this would be music, because I'd always spent a lot of time listening to, bonding with friends over music, writing it. I'd always adored it and had a passion for music, and it was something that I dreamed about that I decided to then put into action and maybe try and make it into a reality. So I wanted to get serious about making music. I put a lot of time into setting up a record label, learning how to produce and record music. I even finished writing an entire album as well as a whole bunch of other songs at the same time. But it was around this time I found a little known game called Minecraft. This was back in March 2010. I actually pirated the game first of all because I was broke and had hardly any money. And then after about an hour or two of playing it, I went and bought the game because I was like, oh, this is actually really fantastic. And I saw its genius straight away. My first experience of the game was, sort of looking around, wandering, and then the night came and something killed me. I couldn't see it because the game used to be really dark. And then on the second time I played it, I decided to make a hidey hole, and that's when the genius of the game came to life. As I started opening up this space inside of a cave, it all of a sudden just became really obvious to me how you could shape the world, and it was something that I really wanted to play. So I started up a server. I started playing with a friend I knew IRL. We recruited people over the Minecraft forums as well. This server would eventually go on to be called Geomine, and fun fact to you, Full Symmetry and Mumbo Jumbo were both members there way back when, many years ago. But on that server, a couple of people introduced me to the YouTube scene, tutorials that there were, people were making, and this introduced me to channels like Static, DocM77 and EFO were some of the first ones that I checked out, and then started watching their regular Let's Play content that they were doing. And so after some time I would look for more tutorials as I learned that there was so much more to do in the game, especially the technical side of it with mob farming and things like that. And I couldn't actually find a lot of good tutorials. Bar Static and Docs and EFO's tutorials, there are a lot of them out there that just weren't that great quality. People would record at night, they wouldn't make it very clear what exactly it is you needed to know to create this. And this kind of made me think, I could do this. I've got some ideas, I've got some contraptions and creations that I could do. And lo and behold, I decided to give it a shot and record a tutorial video, and that was kind of the beginning of everything. And that video was the automated melon and pumpkin farm tutorial. That's where it all started. I didn't talk in this video, and the next few that I made after that one I didn't talk either. I was just doing other sort of contraption based videos where I'd show off something useful you could install into your world. And then after a few videos I got a big shout out from Doc as he put out a challenge to the community, and I came up with what was known as the animal breeding cell tutorial, the ability to hold an animal in a minecart inside a cell and then be able to move it around.
First up this week, xisumavoid. I'm pretty sure you guys know him.
This gave me a kick of new subscribers and viewers, and I jumped straight on it and I made this ridiculously over-the-top, oversized animal breeding machine, which very quickly started to get compacted down. So my next few videos at that point in time were all based on animal breeding machines. And so then I continued making various contraptions, started to dabble with mob farms a little bit, kept putting out tutorials. But while I was working on that, I was also working on the recreation of a game in Redstone. This game is known as Lights Out. It was a handheld device in the 90s where you press a bunch of buttons and try to turn all of those buttons off because they were lit up. So what I would do is recreate this with Redstone in Minecraft, and I have very fond memories of being at work on a break with a notepad and pen and scribbling down all the different bits of Redstone logic and contraptions I'd have to come up with to make this work, and then I would go home and piece all the bits of the puzzle together, and I absolutely loved it, and I managed to make it into a fully working game of Lights Out in Minecraft, and that was some pure Redstone going on there, which you don't really see me do anymore. Now a little bit after this, I spoke for the first time in a video when I started the Asuma's World Let's Play.
Hello YouTube, and welcome to the first episode of Asuma's World. I am Asuma, and today I'm going to be showing you my little base over here that I have so far, and right now I'm going to be talking about what I have planned for this this map. First of all, I wanted to...
A lot of people were doing Let's Plays on YouTube, sharing their experiences inside of their Minecraft worlds, going on adventures, and I really wanted to get in on that, and I guess in order to do that I would have to talk as well, otherwise it really wouldn't be the right kind of format to play Minecraft in that way. And I always remember the first video that I talked on being a tutorial, but apparently it's not the case. So when I looked back at it, and it is indeed Asuma's World, which was the first one. And between Season 1 and 2 is actually when I changed my first skin into the classic Doom Guy skin, which then got reskinned to the one that you see today. Now the first season of Asuma's World was only 6 episodes long, and that's because being British I had the British mindset towards shows in mind, which is where, you know, they generally make shows that are about 4 to 6 episodes long, and that's it for a season. And sometimes these shows will only have 1 to 2, occasionally 3 seasons. And that didn't really translate to doing videos on YouTube. They're very concurrent, of course, 841 episodes of Hermitcraft, right? So that's why the first season was only 6. I did 6 episodes, wanted to make them high quality, decided to take a little break and then come back with season 2. Now, before that season started, I had one of my first viral videos, which was a cave spider XP farm, and these things started to become all the rage with cave spiders being added into the game quite recently, and that video grew a lot of traffic and brought a lot of people to my channel. It probably also helped me achieve a partnership with YouTube, and it was with season 2 of xisumavoid World that I announced this to everyone that I've been partnered. It's not a thing that happens anymore, but back then monetization wasn't available to everyone. Custom thumbnails weren't available to everyone. This was something that you had to apply for. You had to say, hey, I want to be a partner with YouTube. You signed a contract, and then they gave you monetization and they gave you thumbnails as well as a couple of other features as well. So that's the point that it happened when I started xisumavoid World Season 2. And around here I started to slow down on the tutorials a little bit as well, as I started to dive into Let's Playing, and I played Super Hostile Spellbound Caves, which is a custom map full of hostile mobs. If you have never heard of Super Hostile, I'd highly recommend going and looking it up. It's some classic Minecraft nostalgia, these really brilliant, fun and hard and difficult to play maps where you had to make your way through the world, trying to stay alive and killing all the mobs whilst collecting various walls from around the world. While I was doing my Spellbound Caves playthrough, I also got a shout out from Efo, which was so pleasing because I was a big fan of his Let's Play. He put out a little map called the Blind Arena where you had to play with your eyes closed and use the sounds of the block below your feet to tell you where you were in the world, and then try and fight mobs using the three-dimensional sound, which I think might have been a new thing at that point in the game. So it's probably what led to the creation of that mini-game. Around this time I kind of trucked on making my videos. I had a couple of really big hits, videos that generated a lot of traffic, brought people to the channel, like my apple tree farm tutorial, which was just an ever so simple concept for an apple tree farm, but it was very popular, and also the animal breeding machine for 1.1. I think people really liked the building that I put on the thumbnail of this video. I had a lot of comments about that, and it was another one that sort of grew in a lot of views and brought people to the channel. But around this time I started branching out into other Let's Plays as well. There was a puzzle map known as Twisted Logic, and another CTM map, which is what we call the Super Hostile ones, called Vinyl Fantasy. This map is absolutely gorgeous. If you've never seen Vinyl Fantasy, go look up some screenshots from Series 1 and Series 2. The worlds that are in this game are absolutely amazing. But after a while I actually unlisted these videos from my channel because I realized that they weren't drawing a lot of people in. It was having a kind of negative effect on other videos that I was doing, and I also got stuck on both of those and never actually finished the series either. So those are two series that you can't watch anymore. They're unlisted. Well, I guess you could if you could figure out the URLs of the video, right? But anyway, around this time as well, I tried something called xisumavoid Show. I wanted to give back to the community. I was inspired by Doc M's show. In between his Let's Plays and tutorials, he had a show where he interacted with the community, gave people shout-outs. I really liked that idea. I've been on there myself a couple of times, and so I wanted to do my own show, which only lasted a few episodes. It was nice to do, but it didn't really go anywhere for me. And then there was this moment between then and hermitcraft starting where I had a few videos coming out, you know, tutorials and whatnot, and then a couple of really interesting events happened. We did Redstone Wars with Generic B, Pause on Pause and Vintage Beef, which was like kind of a big deal to play with these bigger YouTubers who I've been watching their Let's Plays on the Minecraft server. And then there was also the Pit Frenzy tournament put together by Sethbling, and I had an absolute blast because there were loads of other YouTubers that I really liked there, including Sethbling, and also Kirshar as well, who actually became really good friends with after the Pit Frenzy tournament. He is a very old school Minecrafter, and he's actually the guy who pretty much invented the concept of mob farming. I don't think anyone else did it before he did. He made the first mob farm designs, and he's a legend to those of you that know his name, Kirshar, but these days I don't even know where he is anymore. And of course I hope he's doing well. I believe he's just probably got no interest in Minecraft or YouTube anymore. But then began the beginning of everything really. Hermitcraft itself. Generic B invited me to start a new server, his server, which was called Hermitcraft, and he asked me to invite a bunch of friends to come and play on with him. So I invited Kirshar, Biffa, Static777, Red Eyes, Corrales and Sokar. Now, Sokar never actually made a video on the server. He had other things going on in his life that took him away from YouTube, and Corrales was actually there from day one. It just took him a while to get comfortable and then come on the server and actually play with the rest of us once we had settled in. So at that point I started to wrap up my Asuma's World second season. I knew I was just going to be dedicated from hermitcraft from this point on, and I made a video that I always go back to and watch every now and then. I'm very fond of it. It's called Atlantis. It is a showcase for one of the builds that I finished inside of Asuma's World, and I got the permission to use music from one of my favourite bands at that time, this ethereal group called Autumn's Grey Solace, and that song, I absolutely adore it. I adore their music, and I love going back to that video, and it's just a very nice reminder of that point in time, and I really loved the music that I got to use here on YouTube. Unfortunately, they changed record labels, and I can no longer use their music anymore, but still a big fan of the music that they create. So around this time I started trucking on with hermitcraft, putting out various tutorials, and Cube Hamster I became friends with. He was an amazing redstoner, and he was putting out puzzle challenges into the community, so I started playing those on my channel. That was a lot of fun, and we ended up playing a series together on my channel, one of those playthrough maps known as Blight Castle, which I believe was a CTM, Complete the Monument map. We had a lot of fun playing that together. That series you can still go back and watch on the channel. And then I introduced the world to the server that I played on before I was making videos, which was Geomine. We did a world tour, and I believe after this we did a couple more in the future as well. But around this time, started to branch back out into the Let's Play stuff, playing maps that people like Hypixel were making. The person, not the server, by the way. He started off by making individual maps, one of them called The Walls. We started the Hermit's Play series. We played The Walls, we played Trial of the Mine Masons, Paradox, Castlevania, and we just had so much fun being a new group of people together and playing on hermitcraft, playing other maps as well. It was a really fond time. And we also launched Battle Royale around then as well, which was Generic B's response to like UHC. Minecraft had this amazing game called UHC. We wanted to try and figure out one of our own, and we came up with Battle Royale, which I think was a really great concept. We only got to play 2 series of it back then, and it was a lot of fun, but it never really took off quite like the UHCs did. And then around that time we got invited to another tournament, another Sefbling event. He had created another mini game called Tower Control, which I remember being just so much fun to play. And the hermitcraft team actually won this tournament. It was so good. We had such an amazing time. If you go back and watch us in those old videos, you can hear we were having an absolute blast.
Have they got the sniper
I'm taking
tower
their
back?
left tower.
Get him.
I got him, I
Nice.
got him.
Nice one.
Oh, we're
Now we
gonna
have to
win
get
this.
the other
We
one.
are gonna win this. We got it.
I got the red tower.
Yes!
Nice.
That was a win?
Oh, man.
Sweet.
Good game, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are good.
Nice work.
Nice.
We did
nice,
that.
nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
And then after that I started playing Final Fantasy II with Biffa, the sequel to the Let's Play that I didn't finish and then unlisted. This time we actually played it all the way through. The tea drinkers united together. Me and Biffa had an absolute blast playing Final Fantasy. That was a really fond memory of mine. And then also another Sefbling game. No, sorry, it wasn't Sefbling. It was Free2 created this game called Cluster Chunk that is a absolute classic team versus team. There's 2 little islands and they've got all the resources in, and you have to try and kill the other team. And it was amazing. And around that time, Cluster Chunk came out and I started playing that on the channel. So it was around August 2012, my channel was approaching being a year old, and I started the classic myth-busting series that still runs to this day. On the very first video I made the horrendous mistake of using bedrock, which is a horrible texture to look at on a large scale from a distance. If you go back and watch that video, you can see that was not a good way to start the series, but of course the series evolved from that point onwards, and I continued playing rounds of Cluster Chunk, and this was a very fond memory because I was essentially just playing games with friends and they were becoming videos which started to become my income on YouTube as well, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. I also hit 50 episodes of hermitcraft around this time, which was a huge milestone. I had a lot of fun making the 50th episode. And also I rolled out the ultimate animal breeding machine, which signaled the end of an era because it was the last design of that type as I would make, as basically we figured out that you just put animals in a hole to breed them, and that makes the whole process so much easier, which is basically the standard today, right? And then around this time when my channel was 1 year old, I had finished making a custom map game called Cube Control, and I absolutely loved this. The idea was that you had a bunch of floating cubes in a world, and you would bridge and branch out to different ones to collect different materials that you could bring back and then craft together to gear up. And the opposing team had the same set of cubes, and it was a lot of fun. It was a real hit and an absolute blast to play. And this was around now October, when we had a skin competition to change my Doom Guy skin, and there were a bunch of different options, and everyone voted for a skin made by Ravenschild, which is the one that you know and possibly love to today. I certainly love it. It looks fantastic. It's essentially a reskinning of the Doom Guy, and it looks absolutely fantastic, and as I said, still using it to this day. A little after that skin competition happened, we then played Cube Control versus Minecraft, hermitcraft versus Minecraft. It was such an amazing thing, because I've been a huge fan of the Minecraft guys for a long time, and we got to play them, and of course we won, you know, with me knowing how the game was played, but we won in dramatic fashion. Actually, it's a really great game if ever you want to go back and watch some classic Minecraft custom map games right there. It was also around this time that I introduced everyone to my other favourite game, which is Doom. I played it a lot as a kid, and I've always loved going back and playing that, and I decided to make a series on it on my channel as well. And not long into that series is where I unveiled to the world the compact animal breeder, as I called it, the cab for short, which was the trick where you put all the animals into a hole with a trapdoor below to separate the babies. And then around here I also played my first round of modded Minecraft. I did a little series, I think it was 7 episodes long. It was called Learning Feed the Beast, and this was like classic modded back in the day, and it was essentially a tutorial series with xisumavoid, who walked me through playing all of the mods, and that was really fun to do that with him. So now we're at December 2012, and 2 interesting things happened around here. First of all, I released a game known as Rush, aka Bed Wars, which now you will probably see on every minigame server there is. If you want to go back and see the original, it's called Rush, and there'll probably be a link to it in the description box, right? There'll be a link to a lot of things in the description box, I imagine. It was also around this time that I went full-time, and it wasn't a decision that I actually wanted to make, but the European Union passed a law that sort of attacked my type of work and our group of workers and made it difficult for us to continue doing what we did. I was essentially looking at working half the amount of time that I did before, and that just prompted me to just do this and go for it. I'd already been looking at it thinking, I'm earning more money doing this YouTube thing than I am working my job, and maybe I should just, you know, do this. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And when that law got passed and I learned about how much less work I would have to do, then it was just the time to go for it. So my hand was forced a little bit, but I had been thinking about it, and so a year and a couple of months after I started my channel, I became a full-time YouTuber. And so with that change, unsurprisingly, I started to upload quite frequently. I think actually pretty much daily going into December and then January of the next year, and somewhere around there, one of my most favourite hermitcraft pranks and memories was pranking Generic's base with Biffa. The two of us filled up his entire base full of fence posts, and it caused it to lag like crazy. It was absolutely hilarious.
Quarantine, is that how you spell that? Yeah. Kind of a lame prank, but whatever. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, are you serious right now? Don't worry, it's not all bad. Enjoy the gifts. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
And a very fond memory. And not long after that went out, I did my first ever snapshot video on this channel. Now, they are obviously now some of the most popular ones that I upload, but kind of ironic back then that I was really hesitant about getting involved because other people had already established themselves as snapshot video makers in the community, and there was a little bit of that immature pushback that you sometimes get in communities. I remember when I first made it, a few people were a bit mean, like, oh, you shouldn't do this, only so-and-so can make snapshot videos, but people got over that pretty quickly and I started making the snapshot videos, and as I said, they've now become some of those popular on my channel. Not long after that, I started a series called Technical Beast on a Feed the Beast mod pack with a couple of friends outside of the Hermitcraft group, and I have really fond memories of playing that. Then not long after that, we had a video that went really viral on my channel, Hermit Plays Supercraft Bro Balls. This was this new game that had been created, I think, by Sethbling, and we just played it constantly as hermits. We made a lot of videos on it. But what was interesting is there was this weird view inflation glitch. So now the video only now has 175,000 views. I think it went up to like way over 500,000, and it was a YouTube bug, and then they had to reverse all the views and all that kind of stuff. But that was a really fun moment, just because we had a great time as a group playing it together. And so, in between the several episodes of that were going out, we hit 100 episodes of Hermitcraft, an amazing milestone, and we did something rather unique. We went into creative mode and flew around and looked at the world from up above, which is something you wouldn't have seen at the time. Now, of course, we're used to camera counts and time lapses and just seeing the world from so many different angles, but back then it was kind of different. Also, of course, we've got the Elytra and rockets now as well. Also, in my 100th episode, little Easter egg for you, I said when I started this series I knew I'd get to 100 episodes. That's why I started with 001. I put 2 zeros there because I was going to get to 100, and I did that. And geez, what are we at now? Probably 850 by the time this video comes out? Absolutely bonkers.
The day I joined, I knew I'd get to this day. I knew there would be 100 episodes. When it all started up, I made my little thumbnail for my first episode, and in the bottom left hand corner I put 001, and some people pointed it out straight away. They said, I see what you're doing there, you're in it for the long run, and I knew I was. I knew I would be on here, be very active, and make a lot of videos, because this is what I really wanted to do at the time. I wanted to LP on a server and have lots of fun that way, and I tell you what, the journey has been amazing.
And so, looking over all the videos I've uploaded, 2 things really caught my eye around here. Surgeon Simulator, that always just sticks out in my mind. That's the second time I branched out and played something non-Minecraft. I just remember having a very positive feedback from the audience on that one. And the other thing was this chicken farm video. The most viral video I've had on my channel is a chicken farm video. It's not this one though, and this one's incredibly similar, and I just didn't remember making it, and it kind of just struck me as being odd. But yeah, it's just a very similar one that I made before the big one, which is how many of you found this channel, I imagine. And then we have Minecraft Middle Earth. I really like making these videos. I think I made about 3 or 4 in total. The Minecraft Middle Earth server got in touch with me. They're recreating the entire Lord of the Rings world inside of Minecraft, and they wanted me to make some showcase videos, which I was happy to do, and I got to make a really different style of video where I learned to kind of match camera angles and cutting with the music that I used, and felt like I made a really good showcase video for their server, and there's a few of those if you want to go and check them out. So now we get to an interesting part in the history of this channel, because I start branching out into other games, and some of the Minecraft content slows down, and something really cool happens with this game called Factorio, which I'm sure many of you are aware of because I played it quite a few times on the channel. It's been really well developed over the years, but a little story for you in case you didn't know. Back when we started playing Factorio, it was still a Kickstarter, and it was struggling to reach its goal and get off the ground, and so I worked with the people at Factorio to get some codes to give to all of you and do a giveaway and encourage people to go and back the Kickstarter, and we actually helped them get over the finish line, and then the game went into full development, and now it's become one of the highly rated games on stream. So it was really nice to be able to have a helping hand in getting that going. So I have a very fond memory of Factorio. It feels close to the channel in a way. And then we did 100 with a fight with the ZipCrowd server, and that was just immense. Obviously, we've done it a few times over the years, fighting ridiculous amounts of withers, but back then it was just the most absurd idea, and I had an absolute blast playing with them. I also played with a bunch of other big YouTubers at the time in the Minecraft community, playing Sethbling's Pile of Bodies map. Now, this was a really special moment for me, just because I always kind of felt like a small channel in the Minecraft community, and when Sethbling made this map, he picked out lots of big YouTubers, and he put me in the map as well, and I was really humbled by that. I thought it was amazing to just be kind of like recognized in that way. And then I actually got speaking to Seth and invited Kralis and Doc and a few others as well, and we all played PvP on this map that he had made, and he had originally made it as a survival map, so he kind of adapted the idea and then played it in a different way. A week or 2 after that, I started yet another game on my channel, and that was SimCity. At this point, I had quite a few different series floating around, and I really love city building games, and SimCity coming out and being able to play it on my channel was just a really great experience, and I remember having a lot of fun making videos of that game, even if the game wasn't so great itself. Also, fun fact for you, I changed myth busting into a different series around this time. There are 2 videos called Minecraft Science. I just had this idea that myth busting wasn't the right name for the series, and after doing 2 probably really good episodes, I thought both of them were probably some of the better myth busting episodes. I actually went back to calling it myth busting again, and those aren't included in that playlist, so there's like this separate little series with 2 episodes on of Minecraft Science. Then around that time, we also started SimCity Simtastic 4, teamed up with Biffa, Corrales, and Doc, and we had this whole multiplayer YouTube series of SimCity, which was just so fantastic to play with them because they're all legends, and it was really great to be playing with people that I had been watching on YouTube for some time as well. It was just a really great little period there. And in and around that, actually, Mojang reached out to both the Minecraft community and the hermitcraft community and did a little stunt with us YouTubers, and they asked us some of the features we'd like to put into this fake update called Minecraft 2.0. And if you look at the thumbnail, it actually says Minecraft 2.0. And the little feature that I asked for, I'm probably going to remember it incorrectly, but you feed pigs or sheep golden apples or something, and then they start flying up into the sky. And so the devs put in a bunch of wacky features. And of course, some people asked for real features that they actually wanted to be in the game, like stained glass. And that actually then led to stained glass being in the game. It's a really cool little bit of history right there.
And as well as this, zombie pigmen have also been changed. They will now spawn with an enchanted sign in their hand.
So around this time, I'd really start to slow down on hermitcraft. A lot of these other games and projects were taking over my channel, and I released a map called Gold Rush, and I have so many fond memories of this because it was a really fun to design map, as I like to do these things on occasion. It was a PvP game. You used to run to the middle and there would be pigmen falling down for you to kill, and you could use their XP to buy stuff and the gold you could use as well, and you would fight over where the pigmen are falling with the other team. And this actually got developed on my server eventually, and we had loads of different maps, and it really became a fantastic game that the community liked. And if ever there's something I'd like to bring back, I think it would be Gold Rush. I think it's one of the better maps or PvP games that I've made over time. This also then prompted me to make a map making series. It was kind of short lived. I felt like it was very talky, and unless you were really trying to learn something from it, you probably weren't going to get a lot out of those videos, but people did seem to like it. And I noticed around this time that also some of my videos started to become more command block oriented, showing how to do tricks and clever things with that in the tutorial realm of things that I show. Also around this time we hit 100,000 subscribers on the channel. It was such an amazing milestone, and just looking back on it, everything about doing YouTube has just been so positive, and I'm so fond of all the memories I've had. And that was around April 2013, so if I'm doing the math right, less than 2 years, maybe a year and a half, somewhere around there, to get to 100,000. As I look back over all these videos that I've uploaded, some of my old contraption tutorials really catch my eye. This one, the water and the lava doors, I'd totally forgotten about those. There's quite a few things like that I've made over time, and that was just nice to see again. I think I'd like to bring those back to hermitcraft, go through some of the best old ones and just bring them back to life again, because I've kind of forgotten about all these cool contraptions that I've made. Anyway, around this time I started playing a little game called Game Dev Tycoon, as well as doing another SimCity series. And this Game Dev Tycoon thing, I asked for likes. I was like, if you want to see this daily, drop a like, that kind of thing. And it was really well responded to. There was a lot of great feedback on these videos, and it was a really funny little game where I just sort of sat around clicking buttons and giving titles to games that were imaginary and figuring out how to get them to have high scores. And it was really, really well received, and I just fondly remember that moment on this channel where that game was being enjoyed by people with me. Another tutorial here caught my eye. It's the flush with the floor armor equipper. You can walk up to it, drop down into the ground, get equipped with armor, and then ejected back up again. Oh, there were so many great contraptions we made back in the day. Not long after that, I had a big hit video on my channel. I think for the longest time this was one of the most viewed. It's the piston chests, and it's so funny. I was just goofing around in a test world and figured out that you could hide a minecart inside of a piston, and this is a minecart chest of course, and then when you opened it you had access to that, and it was just such a quirky little thing to discover, and it really resonated with the community, and because of that I think it gathered a lot of views, and eventually that ended up leading to the end of season 1 of Hermitcraft, episode 133, the end, farewell, where we said goodbye to the Hermitcraft world and got prepared for season 2, which we'll be talking about a lot, I'm sure, coming soon in this video. I also just want to give a shout out to Free2 again for the Vinyl Fantasy worlds that he created. There was a little mini one he made called Industrial Park. It was so much fun to play, and I played that between the end of Hermitcraft season 1 and the beginning of season 2. So season 2 got off to a little bit of a slow start. I was playing SimCity, Game Dev Tycoon and Doom. There was a lot going on the channel. I also did a tour, a 2-part video thing of my very first test world that I had that had loads of weird and wacky contraptions inside of it. It was a real nostalgia trip to open it up and look at those again. And this went on for about a month, and then I wrapped up my Doom, my SimCity, and my Game Dev Tycoon series, and then the channel just went straight Minecraft. I can remember it. I really got into a flow, started to absolutely love Hermitcraft Season 2. I was putting out loads of tutorial videos, there was myth busting and snapshot as well. It was all really flowing, and one of the projects I remember from this time was the Oriental build that I did Corrales on this island on Season 2 of Hermitcraft. It was a really great project that we worked on together. We also started the Hermitcraft Speed Challenge around this time, which I still to this day think is a fantastic idea we should pick up again. It's where both teams of hermits play on parallel worlds with the same objective, and the score between the two worlds is being shared across the servers. So everyone's playing against each other in the same environment, and you can see what the other team are doing at that exact time. I really do think that is an idea right there again to be resurrected, which is a common theme looking back on all these old videos. And then there's one many of you know, the automatic cooked chicken farm came out around this time, and that is the most viewed video on my channel. Not long after it is one of my favourite episodes of Hermitcraft, known as Extreme Bacon. This was a day where I had a little eureka idea that I could rotate animals around in a circle and just AFK feed them and breed tons and tons of pigs, and I went for a cycle and left it AFK, and when I came back the server was struggling and there were a lot of little piggies. Not long after this we did the What Is Love prank on Corrales. That is a 90s song that me and him both really like, and I rebuilt the song inside of his base in Minecraft so you could play it with note blocks. It was just such a really wonderful moment in Hermitcraft history for me right there.
Well, you know. What is love? Don't hurt me no more. Boop, boop. I love it.
And then not long after this I started what is probably still to this day my favourite ever Minecraft project, the Wastelands, where I took on a desert temple, which was probably relatively new at the time, and then decided to rip out the desert around it and create my own custom biome. The idea actually originated in the first season, but this time I took it to the next level and cleared out the wastelands as far as you could see. So I was working on that for a while, and then around episode 175 a lot happened in Hermitcraft. We moved to a new area together, and we started up a shopping district and a new communal area, and I think it was all part of a new Minecraft update where we wanted new terrain. So we travelled through the Nether to a new area, and it really kicked the server back into life. And this was around the time that I became the steward of Hermitcraft as well. So if you haven't heard me tell you the story, essentially our leader had left. We didn't have anyone making decisions really. We were just sort of going along with the flow as a group, and I really felt like some order and structure and leadership was needed. So I asked the rest of the hermits on the server at the time if I could step up and do that and be their steward and help guide things forward. And so with that we were then able to sit down and plan out a big idea like this, going to a new area, recruiting new hermits, and creating a second part of the season where we had this shopping district. And it turned out to be just an absolutely fantastic project for Hermitcraft, and I have really fond memories of the second half of Season 2. In fact, all of Season 2 was pretty fantastic, basically. So a month and a half later, it's December 2013, Christmas is approaching, and we launched one of the best things I think I've ever done on this channel, which was start a plot world called XPD, Asuma's Plot World Domain. And this is where I really got to know my audience in a different way. We built a community around a plot world, a place where people could build together and share their creativity. And I got to meet a lot of people who just watched my videos before then. I really connected with my community. And I always look at it as one of the best and fondest projects I've probably done across this channel as well, having that connection with my community. And so many great things came out of that as well, including an XPD Plot World channel where I actually toured lots of the plots and showed off people's creativity. There's a whole channel, you can go and check it out if you want. There's a lot of cool tours of plots if ever you need inspiration. And I always like to go back there from time to time and just be reminded of all the great people that we had in our community and all the cool things that they did. So while that was going on, we also reached 200 episodes of Hermitcraft, and the 201st is another one of my absolute favourites. It is the prank on Cleo. You might have heard me mention this in live streams and videos. We filled her base up with water and turned it into an aquarium. It was just absolutely brilliant. Her reaction was amazing. And again, another reason why Season 2 of Hermitcraft was so wonderful.
Green arrow. What? Okay. Sorry about the cook fish. It was an honest mistake. I thought I'd bring you some fish to make up for it. Thing is, you didn't have a fish tank to put them in, so I converted the museum into an aquarium.
And then we had another mini game. I've made a few of these over time. This one was called Diamond Defender. A really simple concept. You had a platform full of diamonds and creepers would land on the platform, they would come towards you and they would blow up, and when they did that they would send the diamonds flying and eventually they'd get pushed off the edge. So the idea was to kill the creepers and save as many of your diamonds as you could, and it was actually pretty much a hit. It got on Realms and lots of people liked it and played it. We had a public server up for a while and it was an absolute blast to make and play that. And then around this time I also started to play some UHCs. I'd watched the Minecrafters play it, and then I got invited to play it with people from my XPD community. And the very first UHC that I played actually won, and I think I went on a little bit of a kill streak as well. According to the thumbnail, it was a killing spree. So now we're getting into 2014, and I made an April Fool's video, and I always remember this again, Season 2 of Hermitcraft. I flipped the thumbnail upside down and I played, I think in creative mode, doing absolutely ridiculous stuff like mining diamonds with a Fortune 100 axe, and it was just a very trolly and silly video that some people for some reason seemed to take seriously, but I always remember that one. It caught a lot of people's attention, I think, the upside down thumbnail. And then not long after that we played our first ever Hermitcraft UHC, which was so much fun. Again, looking back on these, some great memories had with the Hermits. I think my team was Biffa and Joe Hills, and the three of us won. Although now I'm starting to think, was Joe Hills and Biffa on the team that we killed at the end? I can't quite remember, but I know I had an absolute blast. It was really great. So leading up to May 2014, the XPD Plot World had had a lot of success. It was really going well over there, and PvP minigame servers kind of became a big deal in Minecraft, and I decided that I wanted to have a go at turning XPD into one of these PvP servers. But I decided to team up with another YouTuber as well, who's DocM77, and we thought it'd be a really great angle that this minigame server, we actually played on there. We cared about it. We made some of the mini games and we were part of the community, and it was such a fantastic idea. But this was a project on a scale that we really couldn't quite comprehend. For those of you that were around at the time, you'll probably remember it was a bit chaotic in the beginning, then there was a period where things were going really well, and then it kind of fell apart, and a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into this project, myself and Doc included, but things behind the scenes just turned out to be way too big for us to find a way to deal with, and unfortunately we had to end the project, which I've always been very gutted about because some really great things came out of it as well. Of course, the community there was wonderful, and we also played our hand at designing some mini games. Doc made the Slice games, which was a take on the Hunger Games, one I actually thought was really fun, and I had a lot of good times playing that with him and other people in the community. There was a couple of games that I designed as well. I brought back Gold Rush, and this is where we made lots of different maps for it, and you could go into different lobbies and play with different people in different environments. It was really, really cool. I created a game called Point Runner, which was very simple. You just had platforms of blocks, and it was like Spleef, except you would run over them and the blocks would disappear. So as you ran, blocks disappeared, but they were worth different amounts of points. And this meant you could make a variety of different levels and give the players some strategies in how to play. And that one I am very fond of as well. There was also Skybridge Wars, which was essentially an upgraded version of Rush, or Bed Wars as it became to be known, and this included these incredible big builds of giant monsters, and you would bridge out from their mouths and fight each other in the middle of the map. It was really, really terrific, and like I said, unfortunately that whole thing kind of came to an end too soon, and I really wish that was one project we could have found a way to make work, but you know, it was short-lived, but it was really good fun. And of course around that time I uploaded some videos showing the level design behind the games and also us playing those games as well. Really good stuff if ever you want to go back and check it out. And then we made a really fun teaser trailer on hermitcraft called hermitcraft Are You Ready for Piglet Smash, which was actually just a little bit of a joke leading up to UHC 2, which I remember me and Giusetra won when we were playing together. And fun little fact for you, I never was able to say his name correctly, and I still say it terribly. Not long after that, Zul'jin and Full Symmetry both joined the server at episode 248, and we brought them on by doing a prank. We built, what was it, like a little desert with cactus inside of someone's base. It was such a laugh and a really great way to bring them into the server and the community. And around that time I started a little game known as FTL, Faster Than Light. I always like to mention when we did other games on the channel, since I don't really do those anymore, and that's one I'm particularly fond of. Really do like that game. Not long after that I did a video showing off GeoMine, which was my, as I called it, pre-YouTuber server. Basically the first server that I made before I was even making videos, and I did a tour of that, and it's always really fun to go back and look at how differently the game was played all the way back then. And then not long after this I made a vlog of me cycling, which is something I've really wanted to get back to, and I've been reminded that I have one of the new GoPros that's got all the stabilization, and I should be able to make a good cycling vlog again, which is something I might upload to my second channel. A reason right there to make sure you subscribed, because there might be a cycling video, jeez. But yeah, anyway, I made a cool video showing off the countrysides that I like to cycle through. And not long after that, episode 259 came out, one that I remember fondly because it was a prank on Mumbo, but it was a bit of a different sort of prank because the prank was me impersonating him in my video, doing his intro and all of that cool stuff, which was just hilarious. And then after that, we had Mod Source, the very first hermitcraft mod pack, which was actually made for us hermits to play and was themed around us, and it was an absolute blast. Looking back on all the different modded experiences that I've had, that was a really, really good one. I did get burned out towards the end and find it difficult, but I had a great time playing with that. We also had UHC 3. The UHCs were rolling out quite quickly at this point in time, and in that one I didn't have such a good game. It was on a big jungle map, I wasn't doing too well, and then Jevin tracked me down with his diamond sword and killed me, unfortunately. And then after that, did Rise of Atlantis, this absolutely fantastic map. Played it with Tango. It's where you have to do certain objectives. I think you have to get achievements, and then slowly the world border expands outwards, and you're in this aquatic world underwater, and you've got to collect all these items and do challenges. Really good map, really good series to play with Tango. I did a couple of other cycling vlogs after this as well. These ones are way better because it's all the way up in Wales. We went cycling through these valleys. Hellfire Pass and Hermit Pass were the names of them. They're really worth checking out if you like the sound of the cycling vlog. Then, surprise, surprise, we did UHC number 4, and I remember the end of this one, I absolutely destroyed XB and Tango. They came out of nowhere, and then I think I killed them both in a couple of hits. That one, we just must have got really fortunate, me and TFC, who I think died in the Nether, and loads of my teammates in UHCs have died in the Nether, which is like a little bit of a curse. And I also thought I'd mention, just around this point, I've been on YouTube for 3 years now. I noticed that I put my 3-year anniversary video up around then, so that was where we're at that point in time. One of my childhood games that I really remember very fondly is Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. And this was one of those games where I really got a creative outlet, because I like to not only complete the levels, but then I like to make aesthetic parks where I'd focus on how they look and how they were themed. And so picking that up on this channel, which revolves around creativity, just made a lot of sense. And unfortunately it was a short-lived series, but people really enjoyed it, and I always feel like that's one I want to go back to again at one point in the future. Now, after starting that series up, I made a showcase video of Guardfall, which was a Guardian farm on Season 2. You know, I don't make showcase videos anymore like I did back then. I'd put music and camera angles flying around and tell you about the farm and its stats, and I kind of really miss doing those videos actually. Then I also put out another very successful video on my channel, the best way to find diamonds, and there is some serious science that goes in to how to mine for diamonds. If you've never seen this video, it's one that you should definitely go and check out if you want to maximize your diamond mining process. And then after that we had episode 280, The Last Laugh, which was a prank on Cleo where I took loads and loads of fish from Guardfall and I used it to destroy her base. She flicked a lever and then all of a sudden out of the ground loads of fish rose up, and her reaction again is absolutely fantastic. It made the prank wonderful. You should totally go and check it out. So not long after that, Hermitcraft Season 2 is wrapping up, and we started Season 3 on amplified terrain, which was so very, very exciting. That was a lot of fun, and this actually gave birth to a couple of contraptions we needed on Hermitcraft. The one-player sleeping system actually started out as like a command block thing that you put in your spawn chunks, and now they've been turned into data packs. And also shout out to Ease, who probably isn't watching this video, but me and him back then had a great time figuring out solutions for stuff with command blocks. Fondly remember that. And then we had UHC 5 at the beginning of Hermitcraft Season 3. In this one, I got killed by Corrales right at the very end as we killed him. I was like seconds away from winning, but we got a team victory, if you like. I think Hypno and, was it XB were on my team? Something like that. So we had another contraption made around this time for Hermitcraft, which was to stop Enderman from griefing. At the end of Season 2, our communal area just had loads of blocks out of place because Enderman would constantly pick up the grass. So what Ease came up with was a way to put a block in their hands that they couldn't place down, the player couldn't see, and then that meant that they couldn't pick anything up, and it was a really great solution. Also around this time, episode 299 of Hermitcraft, a must-watch. It's called Professional Minecrafters, where we did the silliest and funniest thing. That is definitely, without a doubt, the best moment in Hermitcraft history in that episode. It was awesome. Around this time, Cube Hamster, who was a hermit at one point in time, came up with this fantastic game called Missile Wars. Although I might be mistaken, maybe it was Sethbling or the two of them collaborating together. I know that we played a lot of games with Cube and the ZipCrowd server, some of which we uploaded to the channel, and this was fantastic. We now had slime blocks and flying machines, and they created a game where you would fly missiles across the map towards each other, and it's just a Minecraft classic. Now after that I picked up another game on the channel. It's Factorio, the one I played way back when, the one that we helped over the line. And the game had come a really long way at that point, and it's kind of funny to go back and look at it, because graphically now it's come a really long way again. First it looked really clunky, then it looked less clunky, and now it looks pretty swish, the game. But yeah, just I played that 3 or 4 times on my channel now. Then there was the UHC 6, which was a very short one. We decided to make one that had just fewer episodes overall. It was 2 teams, and we all sort of charged at each other at the end, and our team won. Then after that, I launched a video on my channel that was quite controversial, and it's really funny to see how things have changed over time. Now supporting your content creators is far more acceptable. I don't think there's really even any pushback anymore. We have Patreon, we have people making donations, throwing cheers and bits on Twitch, etc. But what I made a move to do back then was to create a channel that you could sign up for with money on YouTube, and then it would just simply remove adverts from all of my videos. Now this is something that's now become YouTube Red, but when YouTube were first trying to figure it out, it's not called YouTube Red anymore, is it? It's YouTube Premium. When they were first trying to figure it out, what they did is they created these secondary channels that you could pay to subscribe to, and then it would remove adverts from another channel, which wasn't a very good model. But I got a lot of really bad feedback from the community at that point, and then a lot of other people kind of stepped in and backed me up as well. So it was a very divisive moment, but it's just interesting to see how the tide has changed. I think back then people didn't realize that we were doing this for a living. It wasn't seen as a job, whereas now obviously in today's economy, the creator economy, as some people call it, is really becoming a big thing. There is a big market for people who entertain others, which is of course what I do. Anyway, around this time, the end of Mod Source, there was some big gaps towards the end. As I said, I got kind of burned out. We decided to wrap up the season, and we came back later on with a sequel, which I'll talk about when we get there. Also wanted to quickly mention episode 332, just a build from Hermitcraft that I'm fond of. Built a giant squid in the middle of a desert, and it was also a squid farm, which was just ridiculous. What's next? It's UHC 7. Yeah, there were a lot of these, and in this one there were achievements you could get, and the achievements gave you buffs, if I remember correctly. And that was one of the things we did with every single UHC. We always tried to put on a spin on it. I think the first couple were very plain and vanilla, and then we started to mix things up as we got further into it. Also, these had fantastic intros. I used to love editing these. I think I did most of them, and occasionally one or two of the other hermits would do an intro. I think what I might do after this video's gone out is put some stuff on my second channel where we do like little montages or clips from things we've done in the past to just continue celebrating hitting 1 million in a way, and to show off all the cool stuff we did in the past in kind of like a bite-sized manner. But I'm getting a little bit off topic. In this UHC, I remember, I think I lost quite early on and spent a lot of time in spectator mode, and then we discussed actually uploading spectator mode, although I think we might have done that before. Anyway, it's all blurry because it happened years ago, right? Not long after this, City Skylines came out, and it was a major hit on the channel. I still love this game and always think about creating a new city and putting time into it. It's just one of those things I keep thinking about going back to, and you'll probably see me stream it on Twitch at some point in the future as well, because it's so much fun. Not long after that came out, we did a collaboration type video with Mumbo where I showcased my top 5 favourite Mumbo videos, and he showcased his top 5 of mine, which was a really cool little cross-channel collab thing to do with him. Then episode 341 of Hermitcraft Season 3, an incredible moment for me. Doc and Etho joining Hermitcraft, a classic duo. Those two have been watching since before I started making videos, so to have them join our Hermitcraft was just incredible. I also remember way back in the day, I think it was like episode 2 or 3 on myth busting, the two of them came onto a server with me to bust a myth where we had 2 people trying to break a block at the same time to see if it would break faster. That was really cool, and that was quite some time ago. And also around this time I did a video I remember fondly known as the exhibit door. Picture of exhibit on the screen or the thumbnail of the video. Yeah, it's a door inside a door. Some of you might get that joke. Then we have episode 350 of Hermitcraft, a milestone and an introduction to a character known as Evil Asuma, who would possess me and cause me to do crazy things to the other hermits on the server. Of course, Evil X is just loved by a lot of people in the community now, and this is where Evil X first appeared. There's also a really great moment in this episode where me and Biff are underwater and he's trying to act drowning, and he's drinking a cup of tea or sipping on water or something, and it's just hilarious because for some reason it's taking forever for us to drown, and the whole thing didn't work.
I'm trying. I'm getting there. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm not gonna. I've gotta go. I'm drowning. Where's my torches? Oh no, I'm going. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm dying very slowly. Oh, there goes my last air. I'm actually dying now. Finally. It's so slow. I'm gonna actually choke before I die. Oh dear.
Oh, let me help you.
Thanks. It's so slow. Oh, I'm actually dead. Oh my goodness, I drowned. Oh, dear me. Oh. There you go, I'm dead.
but it was so funny, it had to be in the video. It was really great. And around this time I also became a partner with Twitch and I started live streaming on a regular basis. I also then launched my second channel and started uploading all of my live streams over there, as well as clips onto the main channel as well, which is something I haven't done for a long time. Then around this point I started a second series of City Skylines. This was a short-lived series that was really a flop, because in the game I decided to do an experiment where I'd disconnect parts of the transport network from one another on islands to see what happened, and it ended up being really kind of frustrating and difficult, and that just became a very short-lived series that kind of tapered off. As that ended, I started another game called Mini Metro. Really fond of this, very minimal, stylish game where you have a bunch of stations popping up and you got to draw the tracks and get the carts going around to pick up passengers and take them from one station to another. That again was like a little bit of a mini hit on the channel. People seem to really like it, and fun fact, I still play it to this day. I've got it on my iPad and it's just so fantastic to play on the iPad. You know, just hold it in your hand, it's very simple, use your finger to draw the lines and whatnot. Really cool game. After that we had UHC number 8, which was a invite a friend UHC. Each UHC has a twist. This one was to bring a friend along, and I brought Mary the Lapis Demon, who is actually sort of like behind the Evil X character in a way. She helped me forge the idea for it. I remember the two of us discussing Evil X a lot, and it was really cool to do that. And then also around this point I had another viral hit on my channel, Agario, the game with the blobs that move around the screen and they eat the other blobs. If you've never heard of it, go look it up. It's a little bit of a viral game that happened around this time, and I made a tips and tricks video on it, and for the longest time actually became the most popular video on my channel. But where that game has well and truly died off now, the other Minecraft video took it back over again. So it always felt weird being a Minecraft channel and then having this other game as your #1 video for the longest time, but now it's back to being Minecraft again. This next chapter in my channel lasted from about May to October, and I look at it as a period where I was really busy trying out lots of other series and games and things on my other channels, actually being quite diverse. And throughout it all, of course, I kept hermitcraft season 3 going with regular episodes. But one of the big things we started off with as a group was Game Mode 4. Now, it used to be that game modes were labelled 1, 2, 3, and now they're known as Adventure, Spectator and Creative. And so Game Mode 4 was a way to say, like, imagine we've made our own modded series using command blocks to add features into the game. And this is what this was. Sparks was the person behind Game Mode 4 who created all these additional features, and we as hermitcraft decided to make a server where we had access to all this extra stuff through command blocks, and also different textures for many of the building blocks as well, which was ever so much fun. Unfortunately, that season kind of fizzled out with people being more focused on vanilla, but I still look back at it fondly. Then I also took a trip, took some time off, one of the first holidays I think I'd ever had in a long time. I went to Barcelona with my family, and I had a GoPro, so I just took it with me, filmed some stuff, and ended up making a vlog, which I like to go and look back at from time to time. Reminds me of the trip very fondly, where I also got to see Barcelona play. I got to see Messi, Suarez and Neymar, all of them scored a goal, which was really cool. It was a really good match. Then after that we started the Minecraft Creative Inspiration server, which was for the Plot World post respawn network. So after that fell apart, I was able to keep some of the community together, remake a Plot World, and I can't remember specifically what we called it at the time, but play.xisumavoid.com was just the thing that we kept saying. Basically make the IP address the name to some extent to make it super easy to find. And so we started a series where I went flying around the different plots that people have done together as a community, sometimes individuals, and there's this lovely series of videos now dedicated to people in the community and what they were able to come up with. And during the time of doing that series, I also made a video that I feel is like really important. There's some videos I like to point back at and say, go watch this. This one is called The Evolution of Animal Breeding, and what I did with this one is I took those very first steps that I talked about earlier in this podcast about some of the first videos that I did to do with animal breeding in Minecraft, and I basically looked at all the contraptions I did, things that other people in the community did as well, and talked about how the game had changed and how Minecraft has sort of evolved with these machines that we had for breeding animals together. And that was a way for me to close the door on that chapter, so to speak, because I used to be the animal breeding guy, right? That's what I was known at when I was getting going, and that's like a long time ago now. We also resurrected Battle Royale, which was kind of short-lived. I remember that season I think we did 2 of them, and that game being really quite fun, but for some reason it just kind of fell to the wayside and we never really ran with it again, but that was a series we did at the time. I also finished building Rainbow Fall on Hermitcraft Season 3, and I made a showcase video for that. I think I mentioned earlier that I kind of dropped doing showcase videos for my builds at a certain point in time, and this was a giant sheep farm in the sky. We had 2 sheep heads and they were puking rainbows into each other. That is a real thing, and we built that and we made a video for it. Also around this time I really started to, as I said, diverse, do lots of different things. I started playing Ark Survival Evolved. That was kind of short-lived once I realised how incredibly grindy that game was by default. We also played Tango's mod for Agario, that other popular game. He made it inside of Minecraft using slimes. That was an immense amount of fun. I remember having a great time editing the video for that one. And then I started a game I am still incredibly fond of called Infinifactory. This is a 3-dimensional puzzle solving game that's almost like Redstone in a way. We have all these factory components and you've got to create a solution to a problem, and it is so complex and brilliant in many different dimensions. I think it's one of the best puzzle games that has ever been made, and it's definitely one of those ones at some point, get a bit of free time, go play Infinifactory again. That's what I'll do. I also picked up a very different type of puzzle game called Snakebird. This was a very cutesy and fun game that had really nice music, and I just had a really good time solving those puzzles and turning it into a little mini series that we did at that point. We also launched Hermitcraft Mod Source 2 around here, and that was something that I basically streamed over on my second channel. There's loads of live streams, and I look back at them, and apparently I was doing all sorts of stuff back then, streaming games like Faster Than Light again, and Risk of Rain, and just some other random titles I would just pick up and try them out on stream, which is something I'd like to get back to, really. You probably heard me say that a million times in this podcast, right? Getting back to doing this and doing that. It's just because all of it's been so much fun. Rocket League became a really big thing around this time as well, and I picked that up, played some games with Python. That was an absolute blast. It was basically like a football game, except with cars, and I like football, so I liked it very much. Around this time we hit 400 episodes of Hermitcraft. Absolutely incredible, and I got to do a special with my friend Biffa, who I've known for the longest time here on YouTube. We reunited the Tea-Eaters Agency, aka T, and we started a series of pranks, just one after the other. I think it was like literally 5 episodes in a row of just us pranking everyone on the server, trying to instigate something, and I can't remember who the first person was. I've got a feeling it was Efo, but we kicked it off with my 400th episode and took it from there. We also started yet another game I'm really fond of, Polybridge, a bridge building game which reminded me of some very obscure indie games that I played many years ago about building bridges. They're all sort of like technical, and Polybridge found a way to take this type of game and make it really fun, and pick that game up every now and then over the years to just continue playing it, I guess. So somewhere around this time is when I started my music blog. If you didn't know, I really like listening to music and then writing about it and just getting my thoughts and feelings out there. That's the purpose of the blog, is just to kind of create a log of the journey that I've been on listening to the music and exploring that world, and that started some point around here, late 2014. And also at this point I hit 40,000 followers on Twitch. I made a video about that apparently, I thought I'd mention it. And of course the pranks that me and Biffa do kept rolling out, and I kept making snapshot videos and all was going well. And then I kicked off yet another Minecraft series called Do You Know Minecraft, which I think has kind of become redundant now. But this is where I looked at things in the game and picked together some facts and throw them all together in an interesting video. And I wanted to do this just because I noticed they were becoming very popular on YouTube, and I thought I'd have a shot at making my own kind of top 10 type videos, and a few of those have actually been incredibly well received and they were a lot of fun, but I just don't feel like they're the kind of thing I really want to do anymore. So you're probably not going to see a Do You Know Minecraft video again from me for some time. Also around here, really cool game called TerraTech, where you explore like a randomly generated world and you pick up all these parts for building basically vehicles, right, that can go around on wheels, ones that can fly and do all sorts of jobs. And that game had a huge amount of potential, and it's been a really long time since I last checked in with it as well. Kicked off that series somewhere around here and it was really well received again. That's a cool game I'd like to go check out. And then after starting that, we also had our 9th UHC, which was with the legendary combat update that was never really that well received, right, in the Minecraft community. And I'm scratching my head now. I should have made a note earlier I think Doc M won this. In fact, I think I had a showdown with Doc M, and I came quite close to killing him, but not really. I think it was like him and Iskall, and yeah, it was a really intense battle at the end, and I think it was Doc and Iskall on a team, and they won that one. If ever there was a significant point in time I could look back on at my history and go, this bit right here was really important, it would be something that you wouldn't notice on the surface. It wasn't like a big hit video or anything like that. It was the point where I launched my Patreon, and before that, in Hermitcraft Season 3, I had a bit of a candid discussion with my audience about how I've been struggling to move out, how for a long time in my life it looked like something that would be really difficult to do. I've been saving for the longest time, and it was just a slow and painful process. This is something that a lot of young people suffer with over here in this country. It is very difficult to get out of the renting trap, and even if you're not renting, it is difficult to save up and buy a house. And so I kind of had an honest discussion about it, reached out to my audience a bit, and I got an incredible amount of support encouraging me to start up a Patreon, also to accept donations on live stream, which I can't remember if I was already doing or not, but this made like a really big difference from this point onwards, and this actually then led to me being able to buy a house, move out, which has been such a huge and big changing point in your life. You know, it's very liberating to live on your own. You have a lot of freedom. You also have a lot of responsibilities, and you're going to learn so much by all the things that, you know, life will throw at you when you've got to take care of a home. And it's and being independent, it's a big deal. And so I'd look back at this point and say that was a really significant turning point, but you wouldn't notice it from the surface. It's just videos as usual, right? And so again, I extend my thanks ever so much to everyone who supported me at that time and all the way till today as well. That made an absolute huge difference. I now have my own home that I live in. I have a studio here, and that has just drastically improved the quality of everything around this channel, from my own happiness and freedom, and of course the quality of the content has been able to get technically better over time. You know, no background noises, and I've had better equipment here to record with, but I'm kind of waffling on a little bit about this. This video is of course to talk about what's happened over the history. So just as that started to happen, I started up a Patreon. This led to a series which I'll talk about just in a second. It actually came after this game called Concrete Jungles, though. It came out on Steam. It looked really fascinating. It was like a card deck building game, but also mixed with a sort of versus placement tile game. It was a mix of all sorts of weird things, a lot of strategy and puzzle kind of thrown in the mix, and it was a real cool hybrid of different types of game, and I had an absolute blast. Unfortunately, it's been one of those games that's kind of difficult to pick up and get back into again, because I played it so much I'd kind of seen a lot of what it had to offer, and so when I start playing it again, it just feels like the charm isn't quite there. But I really like that game. That was so much fun to play. And so going back to the whole Patreon thing, this is what we did to kind of start the Patreon community, was create our own mod pack and a modded server, and it was called xisumavoid, and I started a series on it. I had a base that was like a ziggurat, and we did some cool building stuff in there. I learned some of the mods, I built some of the farms, but always with modded, those things fall apart so quickly for me. I just feel like the end game and the balance of it all is just all over the place, that I've always find it difficult to stick to a modded series. But it was certainly a lot of fun to play with my Patreons. We did a lot of live streaming, and we did a series on the main channel for that as well. Around here I also picked up a game called Human Resource Machine. If you like the idea of programming, if you like logic puzzles, then this might be something for you. It's a game that kind of takes programming problems and turns it into like a puzzle game, and yeah, it was really cool, but very quickly did I find out that game was way too difficult for me. And not long after that I put out my top 5 myth busting video, which became incredibly popular on the channel. Top 5 lists, things like that, every now and then they can just kind of like, you know, hit the mark and generate loads of traffic, and it did that for the myth busting series, which I was really happy with, because I wanted to bring more people to that series. Of course, you can learn a lot from it. Then we had the game Kingdom. If you've never seen this game, it's worth checking out. It's a very kind of indulgent pixel art game with a great atmosphere, and there's not a lot of like interface or obvious game mechanics that are explained to you. You're just going to play it ambiently and figure out what exactly is going on, and there's a few things for you to do, and eventually you kind of suss out you have to, I think, to like defend the village for a certain amount of time, or you have to get all the baddies back to the portal. I can't actually remember how it ends, but I just loved how this game wasn't trying to explain itself to you. It let you figure it out, and that was just a lot of fun. And then we had another viral hit again, 5 simple starter farms. Again, the top 5 lists, just they hit it every now and then, and after the myth busting one, I thought, well, what are the best 5 really simple starter farms that everyone should know? And I came up with 5 of them, put them in a video, and that one's been a huge success on the channel as well. And then we had the return of Polybridge, brought that series back, which I do every now and then on the channel just because it gets updated a lot over time. And that leads us into Christmas, and for Christmas of this year I actually teamed up with Mumbo Jumbo, and what we created was a Xmas Redstone Advent Calendar. So all the days leading up to Christmas, both me and him would put a little miniature redstone tutorial video on our channel showing you a particular function or use of some redstone, you know, a little bit of circuitry. And between the two of us we explained a lot of stuff, and it was also like a way for us to link to each other. So at the end of each video we'd shout out, you know, I'd shout out Mumbo, he'd shout out me, and we both had this Advent thing going on, which was really, really cool. So 2016 is a year I will never forget for many reasons, but the beginning of this year isn't really one of them. We started, or should I say brought back, an old series. As much as I enjoyed this, it's not why I remember 2016. Infinifactory came back, and the story is, if I remember it correctly, that I thought I'd finished the game and people in my own comments told me, no wait, there's more levels, so I decided to pick them up, go play them again, and had an absolute blast. However, these puzzles were way harder and more difficult than the ones I did beforehand, and I spent a lot of time playing that game, making videos, and of course enjoying it all. And also around this time I did a very casual series on my second channel for a game called Hammerwatch. It actually started on the first day of the year, I believe, and it was me and 3 other friends casually playing a 4-player co-op game, which was like a top-down dungeon crawler hack and slash pixel art type game that was just really cool. It had a nice atmosphere, and I really enjoyed playing it with my friends. And it was just one of those ones where you didn't do any editing. It was just like hit record, play for a while, and then we'll record the next one after that. And I kind of miss doing that. I wish I had an excuse to do that from time to time. It was more like some casual gaming. And then after that we had on the second channel an Extreme UHC, the third one. I actually forgot to mention last year that we had done a couple of those. This one was our biggest ever one though. 150 plus players participated, and this is because me and some of the other hermits have brought our Patreon communities together to get 150 people onto a server at the same time playing a UHC. And I think Walkers might have won this one, but Walkers won one of them, and it was amazing. He went on a killing spree where he killed like 30 plus players, and it was just insane to watch. It was really, really good. Also around this period in time I hit 400,000 subscribers. I made a video about that where I expressed the number and did a cool bunch of stuff with little facts and statistics. My plot world community also rallied together and created a plot to celebrate 400k. I made a video on it on my Creative Inspiration series, and there have been many humbling points like this where people in my community get together and build things inspired by what I do on my channel, and it's always so amazing. And again, some of the most fondest memories come from the plot world experience, and this was one of them, and you can actually go see that plot that they made in that video, which is fantastic. Not long after this, Scrap Mechanic came out. This was a game that was launched in early access. It had a lot of hype around it. I had a lot of fun tinkering with the concept, creating some cool contraptions, and there was a lot of like virality around those videos. Some of them generated a lot of views, which was really cool to see. But I lost interest in this game quick, and I think they released it far too early. You could go into the sandbox and create things, but you never really had a purpose to do much, and without them having that like survival driven purpose inside of the game, I think the charm of it fizzled out rather quickly. And I know they've developed it over time and updated it, but every time I go back to that game it just isn't the same for me. I wish that was one they had waited before they released and they had like a survival mode put in place. But anyway, I had a lot of fun with it. Also around this time we hit 450 episodes of hermitcraft. I did another Lever Alex episode where he came onto the server and blew everything up, and it was like a big musical episode full of death, dying and explosions, and just another one that I had a lot of fun making. Not long after that I picked up another game called Train Valley. Again, a puzzle game. When I look back over the games that have been successful alongside Minecraft, it was always puzzle games, and this was like a live action one where you had to pick where the trains were going to go. You know, it'd say this train needs to go there, and then you'd have to switch the tracks, send it out on its way, and then send in the other one. Had a lot of great feedback for that series. It was really cool. There's actually a second one of that game out now, but I can't remember if I played it or not. Anyway, yeah, it exists. So around this time we were also nearing the end of Season 3, and I started this project dubbed Chocolate Island 2.0. It was a massive grindy project to make a mob farm, and I spent all this time making it, going over the top, and then, oh, we're going to start Season 4. So that kind of happened. And before Season 4, I also started a new City Skyline series. It had been a long time since I played it. They released Snowfall. I decided to bring it back, and I had a blast playing that series. And then also around this time, I did Do You Know Minecraft? 25 secret changes in 1.9. This is the first time I'd done a secret changes video, and it was an absolute hit. It brought in lots of subscribers and viewers, and the ones that I did after that kind of did the same thing as well. And right after this, of course, Season 4 of hermitcraft started, with Minecraft 1.9 being released. It's quite a while ago now. What was this? February 2016. I look back at this so fondly, because hermitcraft Season 4 I think was a huge turning point for the community. It really felt like we grew as Minecrafters and took things to the next level, and that was of course no thanks to the Kingdom Crafters, Scar, Cub, Iskal, Ren and Wells Knight, all friends of Python. We had 5 people all join at once, and it really injected like a new energy into the group, and since then things have just been absolutely fantastic and creative, and yeah, I feel like Season 4 was a real turning point for hermitcraft. But yes, that season got underway, and Mojang also released another game on the side that didn't really gather any attention anywhere. It was called Crown and Council. It was free to play pixel art strategy game that I found very easy to figure out, and I did a little mini series on that, which was fun to do for a moment. And with 1.9, I think that was the update that introduced the Elytra, right? We had the map Terra Swoop Force, which was, oh, if I get this and get it wrong, I apologise, but I believe it was made by the Nox crew, and it was a fantastic map before you could have rockets to fly the Elytra up into the sky, where you would start off high and you would go through these mazy levels, slowly making your way downwards and dodging the obstacles and keeping yourself flying. It was a really terrific map. I played that with Rendog, had a lot of fun with that. Over on the second channel, I did my first ever XUHC, which was a UHC with patrons. I don't really do these anymore. I feel like I've played a lot of UHC over the years and it isn't quite the same. And also around this time, which would have been April 2016, I started doing news videos on Minecraft on the second channel, where rather than being in the game, I would just talk about tweets that, you know, some of the developers had tweeted out. And that actually went down really well. And we tend to have this cycle when an update is coming, or when it's first in development, we tend to get a lot of additional information from the developers, and so I kind of just bundle that onto the second channel, and those videos have been quite well received. Now getting into Season 4, of course we'd eventually hit episode 500, which would have been a huge landmark, and we did an episode with Evil X again. I always enjoy these, always trying to take it to the next level each time we do one of these, and again I brought on a lot of people from my Patreon community and my server community to help me make some really cool time lapses of Evil X blowing up the server, and we also injected a little bit more storyline in this one and some of my goofy sense of humour, which some people occasionally comment on that video that it's cringy, and I'm always like, that's the point, you got it. It's supposed to be like that. Anyway, not long after this, we did our 10th UHC as a group. I believe this is the last one that I participated in, and this is actually the one where I had a showdown with Doc and Iskal. I got confused with UHC 9 on that one, right? The twist this time, though, was that after 80 minutes you would glow, so then your position would be up to any other player nearby, and that turned it into a real intense battle, and I think I managed to kill a couple of players maybe before I had the showdown with Doc and Iskal. And speaking of Iskal, I also kicked off a season, or sort of series even, of Captive Minecraft, The Winter Realm, the sequel to the one that I played with Tango. This time around I played with Iskal. We had an absolute blast playing together, and it was a really fun experience and a really cool map. So around this time, an update to Polybridge must have come out, as I resurrected the series and played a bunch of new levels, and then a game called Totally Accurate Battle Simulator came out. If you've never heard of this, it's a classic. You should go check it out. It is awesome. Basically, there's like a sandbox environment for you to place down different types of combat units, and then they go and fight each other with ragdoll physics, and the outcome is just wacky and derpy, and of course the title is sarcastic. It's not accurate in the slightest. And I had a blast playing that. It was a very different experience from Minecraft videos where things are more structured and you record when you need to. I essentially just played, recorded, and then edited what I thought were the best bits together, and that was really good. We had some good hits on the channel for that series, but unfortunately they didn't update the game consistently, so I'd bring it back every now and then and it didn't do so well, and I eventually ended up kind of like losing interest in following the game as you kind of ran out of things to do after a while. But it was really a good experience. And then around this time, over on the second channel, we did the server showdown, which is where we brought, I think, 4 other patron communities around R1 and did a big UHC where we had 5 mega teams. And I cannot remember how it ended, but it was an absolute blast to participate in. And around this time, I also released the first of 3 episodes that I did in Season 4. And if I remember correctly, we did a 4th episode in Season 6. I think I was just recording an episode that started to feel like that because I was putting so much into it. But the idea was that I was going to start a new base. So I had one up on the hill, and then I had this big structure I was going to create down in the ocean. And it took 3 episodes to complete. And an episode is basically me just cramming loads of time, as much as I could, into a single episode. And those were really well received, and I probably won't plan to do them again just because they were so crazy and at a particular time where I could do that. And not long after the episode came out, we had Hermit Wars, which was made by Iskau and his build team and his admins and his mob makers. They created like a modded UHC PvP experience on a custom map, and it was really awesome. It was an immersive environment. I was on a team with False and Q-Pampster, and I think we lasted quite a long time. Again, I've played so many of these events, I don't quite remember how they turned out, but that was fantastic. And this was also around the time that No Man's Sky came out, and this was a very controversial game because a lot of people felt it didn't deliver on some of the things it advertised it would have. I'd kind of agree with that, but I actually really enjoyed the game and did a lot of live streaming, so those videos are all archived on the second channel. And even though I could kind of feel the game was a little bit bare bones, I loved the atmosphere of it, and we actually done a whole bunch of streaming on that. Around this time though, a really big part of my life where I moved into my own home, which I was actually able to buy, and somehow that happened thanks to all the tremendous support from people donating on my streams and all of my patrons, and any of you who have ever supported me in this channel. I thank you so much for helping me get to this point in my life where I could move out, be independent, live on my own. It was fantastic. I uploaded 2 videos around this time to show what was happening. I did a setup tour of where I had recorded videos for the last 5 years, and just showed, you know, it wasn't particularly interesting. It's just a room with a computer in it, that kind of thing. But I thought I'd show you anyway. And then I did a tour of the new house, which was empty, completely empty, apart from a few things that have been left there. And I haven't made a new setup tour since, which was actually part of the plan to do that pretty soon. And then I just don't really feel like making one. Maybe when I move out of this house, I'll show you what it looks like. So going into September, it was business as usual. The other games kind of dropped off a little bit. It was snapshots, myth-busting tutorials, and of course always hermitcraft. And over on my second channel, I started playing StarCraft UMS maps, and I believe I was playing these with Ren. I could have played some of them on my own as well. But StarCraft is a game from my childhood, and this was like the first bit of nostalgia, resurrecting of old games, which we've done a little bit more of over, well, I say second channel, you know, live streaming. And UMS stands for Use Map Settings, and what you could do in this old school game was use the environment to then create your own type of mini games, which is actually what happens in Minecraft today. So there's some sort of parallel there, and it was an absolute pleasure to resurrect that old school game and share it with all of you that tuned in to check out those streams. Around this time we also launched Hermit Pack, which was our 3rd mod pack as a group. I have really fond memories of playing this one. I feel like I kind of got into a groove for a lot longer than I normally do with modded, and I really enjoyed building the base that I had out there in the desert, working with this style with these cactus blocks and these cool concrete ones as well. And yeah, it was a really good experience. I liked that one very much. And going into October, I started playing Doom, which had come out, the remaster of the old classic, and I just recorded that for my second channel. I think each one was like 20 minutes of me playing, and it is what it is, and I just had a blast, you know, playing this new modern shooter game. And I actually think the way that they did it was really good. It kind of kept that old school Doom feeling, which is what I like so much about the originals, of course. Anyway, around this time Minecraft 1.11 was released, and I did a 20 secret changes on that, and again it was really well received. And then we got to episode 564 of Hermitcraft. Fun fact for you, this is my most viewed episode of Hermitcraft, and I wouldn't have said that at the time, but I knew this video would get a lot of traffic for a long time because I deliberately kind of took the thing that I was going to do, which was go to the end dimension, get loads of shulker shells, and then try and make it more like a tutorial, make it very informational, and that video has really worked inside of YouTube's SEO. So whenever anyone's looking for a search term on, like, you know, how do I get shulker shells, they basically end up at that video. So that's really awesome. And it was also a great episode to record, leading us into December. And in December I brought back Polybridge, and I brought back Tabs again, which we were playing just a couple of months earlier. And then we did an event called Hunt the Hermit, which, how have we not done more of these? We've only ever done 3. They were an absolute blast. We took the whole concept of playing these massive UHCs with our Patreon communities and did one where we, the hermits, were hunted by all of our community. We had to work together. I think we had to find each other as well. We started off separate, and this was a series where basically we were overpowered, but the small group of us hermits were also being chased by hundreds of regular players from our Patreon communities. It was great, and I really still think we should do that again. So we kicked off the new year of 2017 by picking up a new game to live stream. It was called Astroneer. I'm a really big fan of this game. It was fantastic. Had a lot of fun playing it back then. Just kind of dawned on me now, I have no idea where that game is at right now, because it was an early access one and we had an absolute blast playing it. And maybe I should go look at that one and see where it's currently at, right? I'm sure they've added all sorts of new things to it. Around this time I also uploaded a channel called 400 New Biomes. This was a big hit on the channel. Of course, lots of people be interested in that. It was a mob pack, and I did a spotlight video on it because I just loved all of these biomes that were added into the game. They were really gorgeous, really well made, and I'd really like to play with some of those biomes, but of course mainly on this channel we just do vanilla these days. And back then we were actually doing a lot of modded. Kicked off a series of Sky Factory 3 with my Logfella brother Mr. Rendog. That series was an absolute hit. To this day I still get comments on those videos. People love to search Sky Factory and they find them, and really enjoyed them. Me and Ren did a kind of tutorial series showing people how to do stuff, also being derps and hanging out, and then as well as doing collab episodes we also did solo episodes as well. It was a really nice flow for the series, and after we started that there was a second Hunt the Hermit in February, followed by a third one in March as well. And then we kicked off another modded series, Fullcraft, Iscal's custom made mod pack. We started playing that as well. So at this point in time I had 2 modded series going. We had hermitcraft, and then Snapshot started coming out. So I must have been a busy bee. But here's the thing, not long into that flow, we ended Season 4 and started Season 5, which is a season I will look back on and think things could have been a little bit better. I think the way we set up to play, we were all isolated from one another, which was both a positive and a negative. Everyone got to work on their own bases and make really incredible ones. I loved the base project that we did on mine. Unfortunately, I never got to finish it, but I still look back at it as probably being one of the best bases I've ever built. That season also marked BOO joining Hermitcraft, the legendary builder himself. Of course, him, Doc, and Efo, and Vintage Beef had the NHO, a fantastic storyline. Also the beginning of Concorp in Season 5 as well. There were lots of things going on in this season that were fantastic to look back at, and a lot of Evil X as well, but we'll come back to that very soon. With a handful of series running on the channel, Sky Factory 3 naturally came to its conclusion around episode 30, I believe. Both me and Ren had lots of series running and decided to end that one. And after that we did episode 608 of Season 5, one I fondly remember because I did a little bit of fun role-playing where I declared my neutrality to the ongoing drama and whatnot on the server, and that's inspired by a little bit of Futurama. For those of you that have seen that show and know the bit, you'll get it. But this should be edited into the video right now because I wanted to share it with you. With this flag of mild, unstimulating grey, I state my unaligned indifference on the war being waged between the NHO, the OHO, the NHL, and the revolutionists. Asuma's Island is now a pacifistic, non-combatant bystander, a tax haven free of unfair, unjust tax laws imposed by the NHO and any other party that chooses to do so. As a non-partisan, I declare my commitment to an uncommitted neutrality of fair-minded, even-handed disinterest in all matters of concern. On this momentous of occasions, I shall declare that I, Asuma the Neutral, have no strong feelings one way or the other. You may ask, should we trust the revolutionists or the OHO? All I know is that my gut says maybe. And so we must let the hermitcraft community know, while war wages on, we shall remain the impersonal bystander, rooted on the sidelines as an unaligned fence-sitter. We will remain as the middle of the road. We will remain in an uninvolved, undecided state of inert, motionless, unending neutrality. The hermitcraft community must know that we are undecided on all important matters. And so I wish you all, that being all one of you, a mild, uninteresting and forgettable day here as we declare a state of neutrality. Yeah, so that was just a memory I have that I'm very fond of. That was a lot of fun to do. And then we had the More Mobheads video coming out around this time. I thought I'd mention it just because this has now become a really popular feature. It's now obviously a data pack, and I can't remember, I think we started using it on Season 5, so it probably makes sense that I released a video showcasing this, but this adds all of the extra heads to the mobs that you would see as per normal in Hermitcraft Season 6, right? And also just after this, another video I'm not sure is the first one, my fishing farm for 1.13. These are the AFK fishing farms. I think the first one I might have put out was for 1.11, but I thought I'd bring it up because this one generated a lot of traffic, and that's what those videos do now, and that's a big part of my channel, that people come here looking for those, and so I thought I'd mention it. And after that we also had custom armor stands with tags. This was how it was first done. Of course now we got the book on Season 6, but this idea here was that you could rename tags with names for poses or properties and then apply it to an armor stand, and that idea eventually got evolved into the armor stand book, which is absolutely fantastic and I love it. So that had its origin there in that idea, and then we got to the episode of Hermitcraft known as Everybody Derps, where I had this day where I'd just done something silly and I decided to turn it into an opportunity, and I actually decided to record a song, a cover of a song. There's also a video on the second channel that's like a explanation video of how I did that. I show you my recording setup and my guitar and all of that cool stuff. Not long after this, episode 41 of Fullcraft. I love this thumbnail. I also just want to comment and say, I really love making thumbnails, and looking back over the Fullcraft 2 ones, these are just so enticing and really cool to look at. But anyway, we had this project where I was creating a record studio, and I could actually bring images from, a server into the game. And so what I wanted to do was get the audience watching to, go into Photoshop, make some funny little album covers where they take the Fulls from the Fullcraft server and put them into music culture, and we just had so many of these amazing submissions. You can see 3 of my favourite on the thumbnail right there, and so we created a record shop with all these like little jokey memes inside of it, and it was absolutely fantastic, and things were very musical. Everyone derps and this music shop in Fullcraft. And then over on my second channel I uploaded my very first guitar cover. Now I've done a lot of them since then, and I've always played guitar over the years, but I decided I really wanted to give it a go. So while I was doing all of my regular YouTube stuff, I was also playing a lot of guitar and building myself up to a point where I could film myself and start to do covers, of which I've done quite a few, definitely over 20, probably over 30, not sure if I ever made 40 of them. And they're all on the second channel. And the unfortunate story is I was practicing so hard that I really pushed myself into a point where I kind of sucked the fun out of playing, and I was trying so hard to get to the next level every time I practiced, and I practiced for 2 hours at a time every day, and it just completely burned me out, and I had to put down the guitar and not touch it for like a year. And even now I don't really play it that frequently, and I do want to get back into it. But yeah, I had a very disciplined approach to it, and unfortunately in that case it backfired, probably because I wasn't listening to myself, like, hey, this isn't as much fun as it was when I started, and that's probably a warning sign. But anyway, I'm kind of waffling on about the guitar stuff here, right? Fullcraft ended on episode 44, and around this time we started Hermit Quest, which was the upgraded version of Hermit Wars, right? Yes, I'm remembering it now. And that was an amazing modded Minecraft experience that was absolutely fantastic. I also released Diamond Defender 2. It had been remastered, upgraded and updated. That happened around that time as well. And we also had an Evil X boss fight that was custom built and put onto my Patreon server. So I made a little video showcasing this fight against Evil X that you could do if you were a Patreon on there. So then Fullcraft Season 2 started, and this is one of my most favourite modded series I think that I've done, but we'll come back to that when the series ends, which I'll talk about obviously. Around this time we started Hermit Quest Rifts, so we took the Hermit Quest game, we added an expansion pack to it, and I say we, it was Isgal and his team of modders and builders, and that was again another really fantastic modded PvP experience that we had as a group. And then around October of this year I started a daily series on a game called Carried Away. This was like the Polybridge equivalent for ski lifts, and I loved it. The game was fantastic. However, this typical YouTube thing, when you put out different series on your channel alongside stuff that works, it seems to hurt the views, and I remember being particularly frustrated that my hermitcraft series and some of my other ones had the views significantly dip at the time that I was putting this out. And you know, I could blame it on the algorithm. Maybe I was just putting out too many videos at once and people didn't want to watch all of them, but yeah, I always remember that series just being a little bit tarnished by this poor performance on YouTube. But anyway, moving on from that, we then had episode 666 of Hermitcraft, which is probably one of the most edited videos that I put the most effort into, I think, ever. Probably more than an episode. I'd actually been planning this for years because what I wanted to do was create a storyline for Evil X that linked the Doom game to Minecraft because it was my other favourite game. And so I found ways to get Minecraft assets inside of Doom and like vice versa, and did a whole bunch of craziness, had a big plan for it. The episode is very musical as well, it's like a soundtrack behind all that's going on. And my favourite moment has to be where Rendog comes in and speaks to Evil X. His character acting there was fantastic, and it is just weird, wacky and wonderful, and that video turned out to be everything I wanted it to be, really. And I had a lot of help from people in my community as well. Any of you are watching right now, I still appreciate all you did to make that happen. And also, fun fact for you, the thumbnail is taken from the Doom game. When you get to the very last level, there is this wall of scrolling faces, and it looks really creepy, and it always stuck in my mind, and so I decided to make that the thumbnail. Not long after this, we had the update Aquatic, which was announced at Minecon, and what I decided to do was watch Minecon and record my screen as well, so I could then make a video of it after, which turned out to be a really good idea. It was very popular. People wanted to know all about the update, and I think I did that for 1.14, right? And that turned out to be a good idea as well, and I'm going to do it for 1.15 this Minecon as well. It's always really exciting to see all the new content, and then after I kind of edit it all down and condense it, which is a lot of fun. It's nice to just do something a little bit different like that every now and then with a video, right? Because usually I'm doing the same sort of style of recording. But anyway, we kicked off yet another modded series. So once again, more modded than vanilla, and it was Hermit Skies, which was a really great experience actually. Project Ozone. I went into it knowing if I'm going to play modded, I really need to have a plan for a base, and I had that, and I executed it really well, I thought, and had a lot of fun playing that series. There was a whole bunch of snapshots coming out for the update Aquatic, so there were 2 modded series, 2 vanilla. It was just a lot going on all at once, and this leads us into December, specifically Christmas. Just around Christmas Day, I put out this crazy guitar video of me in a Santa suit playing a Santa song by CKY, and it is ridiculous. You're probably seeing some clips of it on the screen, and I highly recommend you go check that out. I am a complete goofball, and this was so much fun to do. It's funny. I think it's funny. Anyway, leading into the new year, January 2018, we kicked up a game on the channel called Freeways, which I still play on my iPad to this day. It's really fun. You can just pull it out, draw roads with your finger, and the traffic will move around on these roads, and you have to solve the puzzles and get the roads to go in the right places. Really great game. It's just a lot of fun, and I thought I'd mention it. Anyway, around this time, a whole bunch of things happens at once. Fullcraft ends on episode 40, that's season 2 of course, and I just want to say I think this was the best modded series I'd done. I really enjoyed it, and we did so many projects, and I loved everything we did in there really. And Hermit Skies also came to an end around this time as well, on its 35th episode, and then I started another vanilla series, and I think I was probably experiencing some kind of modded burnout because I pretty much ended 2 series and then started another vanilla one. This was the Let's Play Minecraft Together server, and I will look back at this as both a success and a failure. It was brilliant to be close to my community again. This was all about playing Minecraft with my audience, and I got to know a lot of new people. made some really great things together on the server, had an absolute adventure. The unfortunate downside is that a lot of the burden of making stuff happen kind of fell on myself because I wasn't really prepared to do the ambitious thing that I wanted to do here, and so I created a huge workload for myself, and that created a lot of pressure, especially with organization and trying to make all these ideas that I had come to life, and I was pretty much not very well prepared to do that. And at some point into that series it just became a bit too much and I kind of lost interest in it, unfortunately. The server is still running today and there are loads of incredible, amazing builds on it as well. So then going into March of 2018, I decided to do a little bit of nostalgia streaming and picked up one of my favourite childhood games, Command and Conquer. I loved this series and we played the original game together on live streams, and one of my favourite things about it was the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack to these games so much, and I got to share it with the people there in the live stream and had a blast. Did quite a few streams and got quite a ways into the game as well, but you know, eventually it is an old game, it's clunky, and we kind of moved on from that. On the main channel we started doing Hardcore Hermits, which was a game idea I came up with for hardcore mode where you're not fighting against each other. So it's not a UHC, it's a play as a team, and what we would do is have separate worlds that were identical, but the teams would play in those separate worlds with a point challenge, and the first series was advancements. Every advancement that you got was a point for your team. And then this led us into April of 2018, doing some more nostalgia streaming. Decided to pick up Warcraft 2, another one from my childhood. Again, another amazing soundtrack and a clunky, what they call it, real-time strategy game, they called them back then, Command & Conquer and Warcraft 2. That one was definitely not as good as CNC. The gameplay in CNC really holds up well, but it was still a lot of fun to play some Warcraft 2. And then on the main channel we had a real big hit. This video has over 1 million views now, it's crazy. It's the chemistry lab video, which I did on one of these features for Bedrock, where you could bring all kinds of classroom chemistry teaching tools inside of the game, and I will forever be getting comments on that video about how I can't pronounce the names of elements correctly. I think I even said that at the beginning. I was like, look, I'm a derp, I'm going to say some stuff wrong here, you know what I mean? Then we hit another milestone on the channel, 700 episodes of hermitcraft. Absolutely bonkers, right? I did a tour of my base, probably a tour of some other things in that video as well. We were starting to get towards the end of Season 5 around this time, and we also launched the second series of Hardcore Hermits, which was a really cool one, where every single item you could craft, make, pick up, you would basically get a point for, and this just created a crazy series with loads of crafting, scrambling around for resources, and it was a complete blast. And I think I remember it ending up with me getting killed by a phantom or something crazy going down with phantoms at the end of the game. Around this time a game was released by the creator of much of the music you hear on this channel. I always say Izuku, I think it's supposed to be said Izioku, but yes, they make lots of the music you hear on this channel, and in my live streams the music is wonderful. It's a real good fit for Minecraft and what we do here, and they actually made their own little computer game. It was a platformer, and I remember it being really well designed. Each of the levels that you went into had a different type of challenge. It was very engaging, and it was a short and fun little game, and I just wanted to make a video to kind of shout that out for them, since you know, they've done so much for the channel through the music. Around this time we also had a showcase video of Rayworks' automatic shulker farm. This was super impressive. It did revolve around a glitch, but all the mechanics that had to be put in place to exploit that glitch were absolutely fantastic, and I had a really fun time seeing the farm that they had built and then creating a showcase video for all of you to see. And around this time the videos really started to slow down. I think I went like a couple of weeks with nothing but 1.13 pre-releases, and this because when 1.13 was going to launch, that's when we were going to start Season 6 of Hermitcraft. Also, just around this time, I hit 700,000 subscribers, and of course, I made a face reveal video. You know, as you do. If you want to see all of that, go over to the second channel to check it out. Season 6 of Hermitcraft. What can you say? In general, the seasons I think have always gotten a bit better than the one before them. The game evolves, we as creators evolve, but Grian joining us took things to the next level. And the start of the season was absolutely fantastic. Looking back over it, we had the Statue of Hermity, the Prismarine base, we had Tower Bay going on, the tag building, and we got to see the return of Evil X, of course, who came back in an episode after being tagged to tag Ijevin, and it was cool to resurrect Evil X, but I don't think we've seen anything of Evil X since then, and probably won't for a while, as I feel like, you know, That character kind of needs to just be laid to rest now. But anyway, around here we hit 7 years on YouTube in September. That was an amazing milestone. And then not long after that we had another Minecon video with 1.14 and 15 being announced. Of course, they all got rolled into 1.14, right, if I remember it correctly. That video's become a huge one on the channel. And we also had a really great episode of Hermitcraft. I love the thumbnail for it. It's Asuma buys out the stock exchange. And of course, I just took all the diamonds I had and went in there and brought all the stock on the Hermitcraft stock exchange. It was an absolute blast, that was. And then not long after this, my bamboo farm, the one where you use bamboo to make XP, was a hit. You know, generated a lot of traffic. But this was a really good video for me because I decided to do something really different and it gelled really well. Often when you create a contraption and then make a tutorial about it, you do all this hard work figuring it all out, and then you end up doing a boring tutorial video where you kind of point and talk and say this does that, that does this is how you build it. I decided to try and make the whole process of figuring out part of the video as well, and since I knew how to get from start to end, I think that video turned out really well. There's a lot of fast editing. I was trying to get to the point and cram in as much as I could into that video, and it turned out great. And not long after that, we started the Hermitcraft Nether Hub. This was such a crazy big idea. I was so scared we wouldn't be able to pull it off. But now that we have, it's absolutely amazing to pop in there every time. You might take it for granted. You might go through a portal and think, this is just the Nether Hub. But every now and then you stop and you look back and you just appreciate the massive build. Anyway, this brings us into December of 2018, where we were doing some Christmas activities on Hermitcraft. We also started the 3rd season of Hardcore Hermits, and this one you would get a point for every mob that you killed. And of course we were using the snapshots for 1.14, so you could go after the Ravengers and the Pillagers and all that cool stuff. And then for Christmas we actually did a little bit of a celebration with a couple of special videos. I got to team up with the Concorp guys, Cub and Scar themselves, and we went back to Hermitcraft Season 3, Episode 777, just happened to line up perfectly, that numbering, and give them a tour of an old world, which is something I'd like to do more really. It'd be very cool to bring hermits back to old worlds they didn't play on and show them all the cool stuff. And then we got to tour Scar's world and Cub's world, and they were also supposed to tour mine, but unfortunately we didn't quite get around to that, so maybe I'll invite them to check out my world and you might see that video on their channel at some point. Okay, 2019 kicked off with me uploading a video to my 2nd channel of a game called Slay, and there's a funny little story behind this game. I tried many times in the past to record it with different recording software and always had issues with where the mouse cursor would appear, and I wanted to put that on my main channel and share this with everyone. And eventually I kind of realised, hey, I'm using new software, I should try and record Slay again. And hey, look at that, it works. But I decided to put it on my 2nd channel because that's just kind of how I did things now. I was mainly focusing on Minecraft. And what would you know, it went viral on my 2nd channel, gained a whole bunch of views, and actually a load of subscribers. There's loads of people over there subscribed just to check out Slay. So I did a whole string of videos playing that game a lot, and you know what, I think after I finish recording this I'm going to go play another game because it's been quite a few months since I last did, and I don't have any plans to bring back the videos, but hey, I might make one, you know, every now and then in a blue moon or whatever. Anyway, around this time the Civil War kicked off on Hermitcraft Season 6, just wanted to mention that. I'm sure many of you have seen it. I'm in absolutely fantastic storyline, and then the battle rap, my goodness me, I absolutely loved having the opportunity to write my own rhymes. I've always loved rap and hip hop music and always fancied writing some rap lyrics, and then I got to actually write them and perform them. Of course it was goofy and funny, but I still had an absolute blast doing that. Not long after there we started a series on the channel that is actually now unlisted, Factorio. I played it a lot again in live streams. I wanted to make a series on my channel. I was really happy with how that series was doing, at least how I was doing the videos, should I say. When it came to YouTube though, I saw that effect again. This video doesn't get as many views and it starts to drag down the views on the regular content. And I just thought, I don't want to play this game anymore. I want the regular content that I do, Hermitcraft, to just do well, and I'm happy doing this other stuff off camera if I choose to do so. So after about 10 episodes I unlisted the videos. You can technically go still watch them, they're just all unlisted. Not long after that we did the raid farm video, which now has over 1 million views. Of course there are better raid farms out there now, but this was just me diving into the concept of building a farm around the new raid mechanics. It was a lot of fun. Also around that time came out the AFK 1.14 fishing video, which I think has like 3 million views, which is absolutely bonkers. It's probably on track to be the most watched video on my channel, and this of course leads us to hermitcraft upgrading to 1.14. But I think that's actually probably the point where we should stop this journey, because all of that now is of course very recent, coming up to the modern day, and there's only like a couple of videos else I would talk about, so you've probably been brought up to speed. That is the journey of my channel from 25 subscribers, which were the first 25 were all my mates, all the way up to 1 million. It's been absolutely bonkers. So now we reach the end of this epic podcast-like video, and I've been thinking for a couple of days about what do I need to say at the end of the video. Obviously, I got to thank the Puka for doing an unbelievably amazing job on this. I have loved everything. The editing is fantastic. It just brings all the things that I'm saying to the next level, which has been wonderful. So those of you who have actually watched this, I hope you've really enjoyed the video content. Of course, it was intended to be a podcast with something to complement it as well, and that's ended up being a really terrific product, actually. I love how this video has turned out, but getting a little bit sidetracked here. What did I want to end this video on? I gave myself a few days to think about it, and I realized I just kind of exhausted all of my YouTube story by recording this bit after bit, and I put all the important stuff about sentiment and whatnot at the very beginning of it. So I guess it kind of leaves me thinking, what is next from this point onwards? And I've got a couple of things up my sleeves that you're going to see in and around the channel happening, but really it's going to be business as usual. I feel like I've put myself into a very good position in life, and I really enjoy what I'm doing, and there isn't any reason to change things up or shake the boat, so to speak. So, you know, there isn't some grand, this is what we're going to do next. Things are just going to continue like normal for now, and when they need to change, they will change, and I'm going to make sure I'm having fun the entire time I'm doing it, and I hope all of you are having fun as well. As always, thank you ever so much for your tremendous support by watching these videos and letting me do what I do. I hope you're entertained, I hope you're having a good time, and I can't thank you enough. 1 million subscribers. Absolutely ridiculous. Never thought this would happen, but here we are. Thank you, and that's it. Bye-bye.